Crime is a reality across the United States, including right here on the Texas Tech campus. But have you ever wondered how safe you really are here in Lubbock? Coming up, we'll have the latest numbers from an annual report.
It's nearing the midpoint of the semester, and that means that many students are already thinking about their schedule for next spring. But some Red Raiders are looking even farther ahead beyond their current schoolwork. Find out how one campus group gave any students a chance to take a step towards a future career.
And the Texas Tech football team is back on the schedule this week for only their second conference matchup this year. But they aren't the only ones preparing for another round of Big 12 action. We'll have a preview of Texas Tech Athletics' upcoming schedule and let you know when and where you can cheer on the Red Raiders this weekend.
This is the MCTV Weekday Update.
Welcome to the Thursday edition of the MCTV Weekday Update. I'm Christopher Van Antwerp.
And I'm Sophia Bueno. Every fall, thousands of students and their parents head here to Texas Tech campus to move in before the start of classes. And even though it may just be a passing thought, many Red Raiders often think about safety here at the university.
If you've ever wondered about how much crime actually occurs in the Texas Tech community, the university publishes a report near the beginning of every school year with details to let you know how safe you are at Texas Tech. On Monday, Texas Tech officials sent out a notification that the annual Security and Fire Safety Report was available to the public. The document, commonly known as the Clery Report, includes information regarding criminal offenses, violent acts, arrests, and hate crimes reported in the Tech community. The news report includes statistics from all of last year, 2023, and 2022. The most notable criminal offense in the report included rape, sexual fondling, aggravated assault, burglary, and motor vehicle theft. The news report shows that rape, sexual fondling, and burglary decreased the previous year while the number of motor vehicle thefts stayed the same. However, one statistic that increased drastically from 2023 was aggravated assault. The number of assaults jumped from 12 in 2023 to an unusual 107 in 2024, but the document notes that the number of aggravated assaults include 93 reports related to hazing incidents committed on non-campus property by a student organization. Specifics regarding the student group and other details from the incident are not included in the report. It's also important to note motor vehicle statistics include the theft of electric scooters and electric bikes along with cars, trucks, and motorcycles. Reports of violence against women increased in one category last year, domestic violence, but the remaining categories showed a slight decrease from 2023, with dating violence falling from 19 to 17 and one less report of stalking dropping from 49 to 48. One of the other notable areas of this year's report focused on hate crimes. In 2023, there were 3 hate crimes listed in a report, but last year only 1 hate crime was reported in the Tech community. That report included the destruction, damage, and vandalism of a non-campus property. However, in contrast to the last 2 years, there were no reports of hate crimes in 2022. If you would like to view the entire 2025 Clery Report, visit the website listed on your screen and click on the redirect link to the annual Security and Fire Safety Reports.
In other university news, the Texas Tech system will soon officially have a new chancellor following another special called Meeting of the Board of Regents. On Tuesday, current Texas State Senator Brandon Creighton was unanimously appointed as the 6th Chancellor and Chief Executive Officer at the Texas Tech University system. The actual date that Creighton will become Chancellor is November 19th, but the appointment allows the Senator to step into the role of Chancellor-elect as soon as he steps down from the Texas legislature. In the meantime, Ted Mitchell will continue to serve in the role of Chancellor. Mitchell will help with the transition as Creighton takes over, and the current Chancellor also plans to stay on with the university as an advisor until the end of the year. Tuesday's announcements came after a state-mandated 21-day waiting period, which started after Creighton was named the sole finalist for Chancellor at the beginning of September.
If you happened to be in the Media and Communication building yesterday, you might have noticed more people than normal dressed to impress. And most of those Red Raiders suited up in hopes of taking the next step towards their future career. Students from the College of Media and Communication joined hundreds of the other Red Raiders at the sub for the fall edition of Hire Red Raiders Job Fair. Students from across the campus gathered at the Red Raider Ballroom to connect with representatives from a wide range of companies. Attendees could learn about internships, full and part-time opportunities, or just take some time to network and plan for their future career. The Hire Red Raiders job fairs are hosted by the University Career Center in both the fall and spring. The fairs are 2 of the biggest events hosted by the UCC each year, giving students in attendance a unique opportunity to learn about a variety of industries and potential job options.
So one big thing I hope they gain out of this is the networking aspect of meeting with employers, so learning how to introduce themselves, give their elevator pitch, and really make that connection with employers that'll help them later on down the line.
The Hire Red Raiders job fairs are not the only events the University Career Center hosts that are open to the student. The summer camp and nonprofit job fairs are also coming up later this month with opportunities for any Red Raider. If you would like more info about those events, as well as learn about the many other resources available, visit careercenter.ttu.edu for much more information.
Once students finished up in the sub ballroom, they may have wanted to grab a quick bite for lunch. If so, they could head a little farther north to enjoy an event held once a week, offering some different options than the typical food court fare. Every Wednesday, Texas Tech Orientation Services hosts a food truck festival in Memorial Circle. The event features a rotating list of local food trucks who stop by campus to offer a variety of menu choices. Participating businesses fill up bus stops on the northeast and northwest corners of Circle around lunchtime each week. All of the businesses who participate in each week's food truck festival donate 10% of their earnings to the university's Red Raider Camp. Red Raider Camp is a 3-day, 2-night on-campus experience that gives new students a chance to learn about the university while meeting new Red Raiders. The next Food Truck Festival is scheduled for next Wednesday, October 8th from 10:30 to 2 p.m.
October officially started this week, marking the first full month of the fall season, but the weather the last few days hasn't felt much like autumn.
It's been pretty warm this week, but will that continue into the weekend? Elisabeth has a look at whether or not we'll be seeing cooler temperatures anytime soon in today's MCTV forecast. Elisabeth?
Well, we did have a cooler start to the week, but it did warm up pretty rapidly, and we actually hit over 90 degrees yesterday. Yesterday we had a high of 92. It's about 10 degrees above our normal temperatures. Also lows about 10 degrees above our normal temperatures. Not anywhere near our records, but definitely a warm day, and that warm trend is going to continue throughout today. Highs in the lower 90s, upper 80s across the South Plains area. Tomorrow, same thing, just slightly cooler, just by a few degrees. Most of us still in the upper 80s, lower 90s across the South Plains, and then a mild night. And as we head into Saturday morning, it's going to be a pretty mild morning as well. But if you have any outdoor plans, the beginning of the day looking like it should be pretty nice outside. Well, this warm trend I know seems like it's lasting forever, but we actually do usually hit our first freeze here in the Panhandle around Halloween, so around October 30th, and we're still on trend for that, so we'll see when our first freeze is, but it has been warm lately, but we are headed for some cooler temperatures pretty soon, especially as we get more into October. Tonight, low of 62 here locally in Lubbock. Tomorrow, another warm one, pretty copy and paste with temperatures, same as today, high of 91, sunny skies. So it's going to feel a little bit warmer. It might be time to bring the shorts back out once again. Saturday, Sunday, still pretty warm outside, sunny skies. As we head into next week, starting off warm with a high of 89. Tuesday, cooling down just slightly, high of 86. And then back in the 70s, Wednesdays and Thursday. Lows also cooling off just slightly towards the end of the week in the lower 60s, upper 50s. Wednesday, we do have a chance of some showers in the AM, so just keep an eye out on the forecast to see if you need to bring an umbrella or an extra pair of clothes or anything like that to class next Wednesday. I'm Elizabeth, and it's back to y'all.
Thanks, Elizabeth. If you were on campus last weekend, you might have been disappointed to find out that no Texas Tech teams were competing here in Lubbock. Luckily, you have a couple options this week, including one matchup scheduled for later this evening. The number 18 ranked Texas Tech women's soccer team will be back in action at the John Walker Soccer Complex at 7 p.m. tonight. The Red Raiders are continuing Big 12 play after going 2-0 and won in conference so far. Tonight's opponent is Oklahoma State, whose season hasn't been going so well. The Cowgirls have lost 2 of their 3 conference games this year. Falling to Arizona on Sunday, Texas Tech is hoping to extend OSU's losing streak, and they could use your help to do it. But if you aren't able to head out to Fort Walker, you can still keep up with the game on ESPN+. Tech volleyball will also be back on campus this weekend, but first they are hoping for a win against Iowa State tonight in Ames. The matchup starts at 6:30 p.m., with coverage on ESPN+. But if you want to watch in person, Red Raider Volleyball will be back at the United Supermarkets Arena on Saturday, taking on TCU in their first of 2 matchups with the Horned Frogs this season. First serve for this weekend's showdown is scheduled for 1 p.m.
One team that won't be back in action here on campus this week is the Texas Tech football team. The next game at the Jones won't happen until October 11th. But if you're planning on watching the Red Raiders take on Kansas in person, you are not alone. On Tuesday, Texas Tech Athletics announced that all but one of the remaining home games at Jones AT&T Stadium are officially sold out. That includes Tech versus Kansas on October 11th, Oklahoma State on the 25th, and BYU on November 8th. The only game with remaining inventory is a UCF on November 15th, but it's a pretty safe bet that the final regular season home game will also sell out before November. The rush for tickets has been happening all season, but sales started to increase after the Red Raiders blew out Utah 34-10 back on September 20th. Confidence was already high for most Tech fans heading into the season, but the win cemented the Red Raiders' top 25 ranking and made them a strong favorite to win the Big 12 this year. Speaking of Big 12, Texas Tech's next conference opponent is Houston this Saturday. The Red Raiders will head south to take on the Cougars at their place with hopes of silencing yet another crowd of opposing fans. Unless you are planning to travel to cheer on the team in person, you can watch all the action live on ESPN. There are 10 weeks remaining until the end of the fall semester and December commencement. And even though that might sound like a long time for some students, for graduating seniors, it may be less than they realized.
If you are one of those Red Raiders who feel like you're running out of time to get everything done before walking the stage, a recent event may have been worth a stop to help save time in the stress of figuring out all the graduation details. On Monday and Tuesday, the Raider Depot campus store set up a temporary shop in the sub courtyard for the Fall 2025 Grad Fair. Representatives from the store were available along with several other companies that offered students the chance to check off items on their graduation to-do list. Red Raiders planning to take a part in the December ceremony could get sized for their cap and gown, order a diploma frame and graduation announcements, take a graduation photo, or even register for the upcoming commencement ceremonies. This week's grad fair was specifically aimed at students graduating this semester, but if you didn't make it to the sub, you still have time to get things in order before graduation.
If you miss the grad fair, then that's totally fine. You can still come and order your regalia from the campus bookstore, and we should have everything in there, so it's not even like we're doing a pre-order. So we have all of the gown sizes, the tassels, the caps, the stoles. We've got everything in stock. So just because you miss grad fair, no need to panic. You'll still be fine to come over here.
This week's event was the first of 2 grad fairs planned for the 2025-2026 school year. The campus store is already planning to host another edition of the fair sometime during the spring semester.
So Sophia, are you going to be heading to the USA for graduation this December?
Yeah, I will. Are you going to be there?
No, probably not. I'm going to be on vacation. Yeah.
Lucky.
That's all for today's edition of the MCTV Weekday Update.
Thanks so much for joining us, and be sure to check ttuhub.net every day for more news. We'll see you next week.